You are invited to feed Harvest channel.
Cast nets are convenient for bagging bait fish in numbers, especially schooling fish like mullet. If you've ever eaten smoked mullet and grits, you'll know a cast net is the best way to fill a cooler before a cookout. To cast net for mullet, first select the appropriate mesh size for the mullet you are trying to catch. Plan your approach carefully, whether on foot or in a boat, with the sun to your back, and remain quiet. Throw your net over the school of fish, and allow it to sink to the bottom before retrieving. This can easily be achieved with practice. In fact, when I learned to throw a cast net, I simply practiced on empty cans in my yard. Fluffy grass and old Pepsi cans work great as targets.
Ô, de boné verde. Por favor.
Ah. A foto do meu parceiro.
Do some scouting in your area to find where mullet congregate. This is often at shallow muddy flats, estuaries or on the edges of coastlines, sandbars and inlets.
Olha ali, baby. Tô filmando aqui. Tá.
This is your regular and most common cast net that comes with a number of barrel lines that run from the lead line to a central link called the yoke.
Opa, desculpa. Olha ali.
These are most likely crafted for monofilament. A braille net needs the same care you give to your monos. After every use, they should be rinsed, ensuring no residue is stuck in the mesh. No single cast net is primed for all targets and conditions. Multiple variables come into play when cast netting mullet, which will determine your net's effectiveness and should be considered. Catching fish with some form of cast net is an ancient human activity. Folks have been catching supper with thrown nets for a long, long time. There are several kinds of cast nets, and anglers would be making a mistake to assume that all nets are equal, and that any net will serve in all situations. Many times, a slow sinking net will miss mullet when the spooked fish simply swim from under the thrown net before it can sink to the bottom and trap the mullet. Finding mullet is not hard, they are everywhere on the Gulf Coast. Throwing a net over a rough and snaggy bottom is a good way to lose a net, or at least tear up a net. The bottom for good netting needs to be smooth, level, and free of snags. For best netting, the water either needs to be stained a bit, or have a bit of a wind chop to ruffle the surface. Casting the mullet net is a skill that takes some work. In fact, it takes a lot of work. The best way to imagine the throwing of a mullet net is to imagine throwing a giant frisbee.
Correndo lá pegar o peixe. Isso aí, ó. Ó. Vai pulando. A turma tá correndo ali pra pegar. Ah, tá rapado lá. Olha só. Pegamos bem na hora aqui.